everybody. Welcome to Talking Heartland. And this is the show where we're talking about the Heartland show. We've recapped every episode, and now we're starting on season 16. Very exciting. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner. Michelle's here.
Here we go, 16. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Can you believe it?
Oh, it's unreal. But I'm really excited to start again.
Yeah. I mean, because we haven't talked Heartland since August.
It's been
That's
so
when we
long.
finished.
Yeah, it's been so long considering that we were really consistent for like 2 years. Just
hmm
like
Yeah. I
every
mean,
week, pretty much.
we took a break for Christmas seasons, but other than
hmm
that, yeah, every week, 3 episodes. So
hmm
that was pretty intense. I mean, especially because they're 44 minutes. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
amazed. I mean, it started out as something to get through the pandemic,
hmm
yeah,
It's went beyond the
yeah,
pandemic.
it did. But I'm excited because there's certainly a lot going on in this season. Of course, you have the everything with Finn's character, and
hmm
the tragedy and everything that happened, uh, and and just so much more going on.
hmm Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's going to be one of the most challenging things that I've ever done as a
Uh-huh.
podcast host co-host is covering something like this.
Yeah.
It's such a difficult and delicate thing to talk about.
hmm
Um and
Yeah,
yeah, I've
Robert
never really hmm
Cormier. Yeah,
hmm
so sad.
yeah, and so young, and yeah, I've just never had to talk about. I mean, the only thing that for me really comes to mind is Glee when Corey Monteith passed.
Mm-hmm.
And this show sort of kept going. That was really difficult, but yeah,
Yeah.
I've more connected to Heartland because of Hallmarkies. But yeah, it's going to
hmm
be a difficult season to talk about, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's just so much else going on as well, just
hmm
with Amy's character and with Tim and with we're gonna get Georgie back, we're gonna get Mallory back. I mean, just all these things that we know going into it. It's gonna
Yeah,
be
Quinn's back, and
yeah, yeah. So it's a lot. But we're just gonna talk about the premiere this time. And then we'll do it by two, kind of like we did with some of our other shows for
hmm
this season. And it's gonna be pretty fun. The premiere is called Something's Gotta Give. And it's after another Miracle Girl moment, Amy reconsiders her role at the youth center. Jack misses Lisa, especially after Tim and Jessica are forced to move into the house. So overall, what do you think about this? Did you think it was a strong premiere?
I don't think it was the strongest premiere. I think it
Mm-hmm.
was quite a challenging one. Just because you had, Lisa wasn't there. You had um Amy being very down on life and
Mm-hmm.
herself, and I think that was really challenging. To
Mm-hmm.
start the episode with Amy being so down. We sort of had that first moment with Lindy, and then it was just such a difficult time for her throughout the episodes, and I think that was sort of challenging. I'm not criticizing the episode. I just feel like as a premiere, it's usually a bit more uplifting, and even the previous season after we'd lost Finn, after we'd lost Ty, you know, they managed to sort of have this really, hopeful season last season. So to start this season as a little bit more of a down mood, and you had sort of
Yeah.
Jack, not in his greatest form either without Lisa, and Lou wasn't around until later on in the episode. So yeah, I don't think it was the strongest premiere. But not I don't think it's a
It's
bad episode.
It's true. You really did have almost every character being kind of sulky and complaining.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
you
yeah.
think about it, even down
Nobody
to
was in a
Rick.
good mood. Yeah. Normally
Yeah.
we get these episodes where everybody's kind of talking over each other and kind of on top
hmm
of each other in the house, but usually that's sort of like throughout the season to
hmm
kick it off with them all squabbling and not happy with each other, and yeah.
Yeah, it's true because even Jack was kind of grumpy, and that made Tim and Jessica grumpy, and then you have Lou and Peter. Peter wasn't in this episode, but
His
the
presence was.
fallout of their trip to Vancouver. And then you have Katie being grumpy. And you have Rick
Yeah.
at the office being grumpy. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the beginning, you see Amy stopping Copper from rushing with her
Hmm.
Jedi Force skills.
Yeah. Just put their hands up
Yeah,
and
she's
yeah.
basically Kylo Ren.
Yeah. I think this is the first time we've seen Copper in a while as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I wondered about that, that with if they're going to start showing him more because Mallory's coming back.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
already know that. I mean, spoiler alert, sorry, listeners, if you haven't seen it, but we know that she's coming back. I mean, did you kind of follow? I felt like it was impossible not to kind of basically know, especially with everything with Finn, of course. But
Hmm.
I felt like it was impossible not to know basically what's going to happen. Or were you able to isolate yourself?
Yeah, not really.
Yeah.
I think because we followed all of the accounts and obviously like
Yeah.
I think I follow Kerry and Amber and pretty much
Yeah.
everybody. So and people like Kerry are just so active on social media, and I knew that the people that were coming back are coming back, and I don't really feel like that's a spoiler. I think it's more
Yeah.
just for me, it's the
Like what
storylines. I don't
happens.
really, yeah, I just want to go
Yeah.
on that kind of emotional journey and try and be as unspoiled as possible. But yeah, as far as if
Hmm.
anything, it just made me more excited for the season. I didn't feel spoiled knowing that certain people were coming back.
Yeah. Same. I mean, I'm pretty hard to spoil. Like I just like what I like and I don't really care if I know,
Hmm.
like what's going to happen. I still want to see it and how it
Hmm.
plays out. So I think having come from a big family, you just kind of learn to be that way because somebody would always tell you somebody would always spoil everything, including I have to say I was bad at that growing up. I was probably the worst. Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind the scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/hallmarkies. Everybody in my family, but I don't know. I think it's just like armor you get from being in a big family. It's just not caring
Yeah,
about spoilers. Like, well, I'm just going to enjoy it anyway. Who
yeah.
cares?
Yeah, and I feel like in the sort of age of social media, it's also like a choice.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to not be spoiled. You just sort of go through all of the steps of muting things and blocking things
Yeah.
and trying and staying offline. The morning of an episode, having
Hmm.
aired I pretty much do that with Last of Us. I sort of mute it all if
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to watch the episodes. You know I feel
Yeah.
like people that are constantly on social media then complain that they're being spoiled. It's like, you know, you,
Right.
you can't
Well,
you can't really, control what other people are saying about a show, and it's not you
yeah.
can't tell them not to see anything just because you haven't watched it yet.
And it's obviously like a jerk move when there's like a big moment that like
Yeah, yeah,
everybody,
exactly.
like we all know. But when people complain, like I had somebody complain to me once that I had spoiled Endgame by saying that there was time travel in the movie. And
Hmm.
I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah,
what are they
finish
gonna, how
early.
else are they gonna like make all the characters come back alive? And like
Yeah,
what? I mean, I
yeah,
feel like if the spoiler is stupid proof, then
hmm
you shouldn't.
Yeah, and I feel like TV spoilers are so much different
Yeah.
than movie spoilers. I feel like if it's a TV episode and say by it's on Sunday and by Tuesday, if you haven't watched it, then I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and don't click on a recap.
don't click on a recap. Don't click on yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But
Don't click on the
yes.
hashtags. Just stay
Yeah.
away.
Yes.
I feel like movies is a little bit more different because release dates and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I know myself, like
Yeah.
I'm going to see Scream because I don't want to be spoiled, and if I see
Yeah.
spoilers, then yeah, that would upset me. But again, I'm not going to be on social media until well after Friday.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. Well, we have this whole scene where this trailer, almost runs off the road. This truck with the trailer, and it gets a flat, and then the horse gets out, and it's Peyton's horse. Her mom gets very upset, but it comes rushing, and Lindy, again using her Force Jedi mind tricks,
To the force.
stops the horse, and she becomes the new Miracle Girl. What
Hmm.
do you think of that?
Um, I mean, I thought it was interesting the way that they sort of do this thing. They've done it a couple of times where they really echo the pilot episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they were doing that.
I
I
mean,
mean,
they
I really
literally
feel
have
like, yeah,
clips.
yeah, I feel like they're going to get to season 26 and it's going to be like a grown-up Lindy. We're going to see this play out. We're
Yeah,
going to flashbacks to this episode when she becomes the Miracle Girl again.
yeah,
Yeah, I thought it was shot really well. It really did look like she was getting rushed by that horse. But yeah, I did like the way that it sort of echoed the pilot and
yeah. It kind of made me
yeah.
also think of not only Jedi mind tricks, but also in Jurassic World. You know, with
Yeah, oh my God, yeah. That just became ridiculous.
and there's those
Just
memes
that.
going around where they have
Yeah,
like stopping like bunny rabbits and like other
yeah.
things. Like, pretty funny. But yeah, so it creates this whole viral sensation, and I mean it would be, I think that is viral worthy if it was on like
hmm
TikTok or whatever. People would be like, whoa, that little
Yeah,
girl
I mean
stopped the
that's
charging horse.
yeah. I mean, I sit at night sometimes and watch animal TikToks after animal TikToks. So yeah, that definitely would be something that
Yeah.
I would watch.
and and then we have Logan working with the clinic horses,
hmm
and Amy. Amy is trying to help, but she's being stretched too thin. There's too many
hmm
clients for her to be spending all this time with Clint and the clinic.
Yeah, I
So,
felt like this storyline was a little bit repetitive as well. I feel like we've seen this before. Every time Amy has sort of a big moment, a big viral moment, a big
mhm,
sort of case, something that sort of spreads outside of Heartland, that
yeah,
she gets all of this interest and she gets overwhelmed by it. And so yeah, it felt a little
yeah.
bit repetitive for
Well,
me.
I always feel like, where is Amy's money going to? I mean,
Yeah,
she
yeah.
she lives at home. I
Mhm.
mean, they share food costs, I would
Mhm.
think. And so she's been working since she was 16.
Mhm.
Where is her money going? She should
Yeah,
be
and it's like
a wealthy woman,
it,
I would think.
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
if
it makes no sense. Like I don't understand why. I mean, I guess it sort of goes against to Amy, who she is, that she has this sort of the heartland, rustic sort of traditional um ranch, but there's like nothing stopping her from expanding and having, all of these different, things that could further her
mhm,
job,
yeah.
different sort of facilities and she could have like a whole jumping thing. She could have so much with all
Mhm.
this money that's just gone nowhere.
Well, yeah, especially if she's basically trained an Olympian or Olympian hopeful. She could
hmm
advertise that as well.
But then,
I
yeah, we did have this a few seasons ago when her and Ty were really struggling as well, and we sort of had the
Yeah.
same question of, where's where's all of Amy's money?
Well, and I bet Ty had life insurance And so they probably have that. They got paid all this money to go to Thailand. And so where is the money going? What is happening with Amy?
Yeah.
But nevertheless, all kinds of stress, all kinds of pressure. And then we have Tim and Jessica. They had been in the loft, but when they built the loft, they used cheap plumbing. And evidently the particular part that they used is hard to find, which I didn't even think that was a thing with plumbing. I just figured pipes are pipes, but clearly that's not the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was another thing that I was like, really? Like, it's that impossible this day and age to find like a little switch. Like,
Yeah, I
that's not,
wouldn't think so.
yeah.
I mean, just go
I
on
feel like you could just
Amazon.
go on eBay and just get
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can have it in like 2 days, no problem.
Mhm.
And plus, like, you could be fine. And Jack says this, like, that he used the outhouse for years. And so they could easily spend like 90% of their time in the loft and then just shower
Mhm.
and, meals for that you need water for.
Mhm. Yeah, I
So
mean, we spent like a whole season building that outhouse, so I imagine it should
yeah.
come to use at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, and especially to use Katie's room seems
Mhm.
unfair for
Yeah.
Katie.
Yeah,
Uh
I just justice for Katie. Like it's such a rough deal.
yeah.
Like it's such a shame because I really don't think they know quite know what to do with her because they've sort of decided to not make her like a horse girl. So
Yeah.
it sort of creates this sort of distance between her and Amy. Like
Hmm.
I don't think we've ever really had bonding moments between them since we've had sort of the recast.
Yeah, I can't think
Like
of
we've
anything.
yeah, and it's such a missed opportunity.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't really. I mean, especially with Georgie not being there, it just
Yeah,
yeah, we
she
don't even know
feels
what are our interests. Like we don't even know our interests. We don't know
it's
what.
true.
Yeah, I don't really
It
feel
does
like.
feel like she's there just to complain about her parents.
Mhm. Yeah, like our
But
only
she
storyline is our parents'
yeah.
disaster of a marriage, the on again, off again,
Yeah.
Lou Peter.
So Lou's complaining about everyone, complaining about Tim and Jessica, complaining about Amy, complaining about Katie, and then she goes into the office and Rick is upset with her because she's taking him for granted and he's getting frustrated.
I do really like Rick and Lou's dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I really like him. And he's another one on social media that just shares a lot about being on the Heartland set.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and he just seems to really love being on the show, and
Mm-hmm.
he, I feel like there's so much probably on the page of Rick, but he just adds so much more as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've just grown to really love their dynamic and how sort of huffy and dramatic he was about not hiding his feelings, and yeah, I feel like they
Yeah.
have yeah
Well, and it's very sweet when he talks. I think his husband's name is Carl. I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll meet Carol at some point.
When he talks about them adopting a baby, very sweet. That was really
Hmm.
nice. Yeah. And it also kind of makes me laugh because I know when some people were being like pouty about when it calls the heart,
Hmm.
saying, oh, it's like woke or whatever. And they're like, we're gonna go watch Heartland. I'm like, okay, have fun with that.
Good luck.
So very happy. I mean, it's quality storytelling too. It's not
Hmm.
just tokenism. It's like they're
No.
good characters.
Hmm.
Hey, this is Jen Johans, host of the podcast Watch with Jen, which delivers a steady stream of great movie recommendations, thoughtful career deep dives, and first rate conversations with film critics, authors, actors, journalists, filmmakers, and more. You can find Watch with Jen wherever you get your podcasts or hear us first at our Patreon at patreon.com/filmintuition.
Taking the time and really developed their relationship.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I've just from what I've seen on social media, I feel like we're going to see a little bit more of them.
Mhm.
Which I'm not complaining about.
Yeah.
Like I saw some pictures of him on a horse, so I'm excited for that.
Mm. Well,
So,
and Michelle is obviously pregnant in this episode. Like they had a lot of big bags and like things like that, hiding always
yeah,
behind a desk or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But
It's always a thing on the Grey's Anatomy when you would start a new season, you would try to spot whatever actor was hiding a pregnancy, because there was a couple of seasons there it was just constant. It was like Sarah Drew at one point, it was Jessica Capture at one point, and they were just always carrying stuff. They're just always
yeah,
carrying files and binders and just like,
yes. And I think I saw on social media that they actually used her baby for Rick
oh
and
yeah, yeah,
Carl's baby. I'm
yeah,
pretty
yeah, I saw
sure.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that would be fun. I think that Michelle has a number of kids. I think she's got like 4 or 5 children, like a
yeah.
lot, something like that.
hmm
But anyway, so
We
congrats
can
to
track
her.
it from all the hidden pregnancies on TV.
Yeah. So there's a problem with Lindy at school where her
hmm
teacher is just really excited about this Miracle Girl thing, and it's ostracizing Lindy from the rest of the other
Yeah,
students.
yeah.
And
This was like really annoying. It's
yeah.
like for Lindy, like the teacher is so oblivious. And it also feels like that teacher wouldn't be oblivious. It feels like she's really sort of switched on and really cares about the kids, and her whole personality is really just
Mhm.
perfect for her job. So the fact that she doesn't notice Lindy's sort of on her own, sad, just
Yeah.
doesn't feel
Well, I would
authentic.
think you would at least, especially when Jack talks to her about it and is like, "Are you sure this is what you should be doing?" Then I
Mm-hmm.
would think that most professional teachers would kind of be aware of that a little bit
Yeah.
more. If
Considering her massive crush on Jack, she probably wasn't listening to what he said.
Did she have a crush on Jack? Forgot that.
She definitely has a crush on Jack.
Yeah, I wonder if Lisa was shooting a movie or something, why she wasn't in this premiere.
Try that. She's been in so many Hallmark movies.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she was doing something. The last one I
Yeah.
remember was the Holly Robson Pete one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
Which
can't
I
remember being
think
in one
because this
past
aired
that.
in October in Canada, so it probably would have been right around then that it was shot
Mm-hmm.
when that movie was being shot as well. Who knows? But hopefully she's back soon because Jack is
Yeah,
sad.
yeah. We can't take any more of Jack buying things and being a grump.
Yeah, and so Jessica, her horse is this wild horse that Amy gentled for their wedding present, and
Mm-hmm.
is Flash. At first I thought she said Fletch, but I guess it was Flash.
Flash, yeah.
Yeah, Flash. And so it's feeling antsy, the horse. And Jessica says, just go, Flash, run, be happy. But she's feeling sad about her horse.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And then then Flash comes back, which was very cute.
Yeah, that horse is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. And
It's
so
a
then
stunning horse.
they spent some time regentling, I guess, the horse,
Yeah,
her
they have
and
to do the
Amy.
whole routine of um getting them rebonded, and yeah, and it just shows how much more pressure is on Amy. Not only does she have the centre and her clients, where she has pretty much her whole families in their relationship with their horses,
Mm-hmm.
she always has to step in and sort of repair that as well. But yeah, it was nice that she sort of focused on her family, and
Mm-hmm.
um yeah. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with the centre, because we didn't get a lot of Logan this episode as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think we
Just a
got maybe
couple little
one scene,
scenes.
yeah. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with him this season
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Yes, and Amy shows Lindy her Miracle Girl saddle. And if we remember, this was from season 7 when Prince gave her the saddle, the Miracle Girl
Hmm.
saddle. And I think because people like Ty and Amy so much, I think they almost over villainized Prince. Like, yes, he did step too far a couple times, but I don't think he was
Hmm.
like a horrible human.
Yeah, especially not in the beginning.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I feel like maybe the fact that the audience didn't really take to him, they just sort of
Because he's
leaned more
not
into
Ty.
him. Yeah.
And people were
Hmm.
so invested at that point of Ty and Amy that anybody who took Amy away, even though she had every right to go to Europe and to work. And you remember that music that they played when she left? It was like,
Oh yeah, yeah,
why
yeah.
are you leaving? Like whatever music. I was just like, wow. I mean, that was a villain act of hers. People were really upset. She
Hmm.
left. Like, she's
Yeah.
not even engaged.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I don't think people didn't like. I'm trying to think. Did Kerry James get any sort of fan
Oh, that's
reaction?
interesting.
Yeah, because he was her love interest initially as well.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I think just because he's such a goofball,
It was right
he
at the
got a
beginning
pass.
too.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, this prince, he took Amy away from Ty. And
Hmm.
I mean, and just the way that they played it was like, how can you leave me? Kind of thing. But so people, I was looking on the forums and stuff, and people were really mad that they brought back this saddle because we were saying they got
Really?
it from that, yeah, from that terrible man, Prince.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's been so long.
Yeah. Oh, it's still there. People are very, very attached to, like, here, I'm disgusted by the Miracle Girl saddle in the first
Oh my God.
episode. It came from a devious prince to buy her affections and ruin Amy's relationship with Ty. So
Wow.
yeah. People feel strongly. Um, I wouldn't agree. I think that
You like,
he did
I mean, I,
try a couple times, but I don't think that, I don't know. I think he did like Amy in that way, but again, she wasn't engaged.
hmm
So I don't know. I don't think he was that much of a villain.
Yeah, I don't think he was that much of a villain, and I also, as much as I like Amy and Ty, I think I was probably a little bit too old when I watched this to get that. And like for me, it was always Jack and Lisa. That was the relationship that I was the
Hmm.
most invested with. And also, like, I binge watched this. So I imagine it would be different for people that were watching it live when, they've waited an entire season. Um, and then the prince shows up. And it's just not what they're wanting. So yeah, I can see it from that side. But
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I
I
don't
mean,
think he was.
there is there's some people defending him in this Reddit as
Hmm.
coming from a male. Ahmad was not a bad guy and honestly was likable. Amy changed around him drastically, and it isn't unreasonable that he formed an emotional attachment.
Hmm.
So I agree with you, coming from a male guy, whoever this is. I agree with you. It was fine. Uh, but the drama, I mean, that's why you watch the show, is
Hmm.
is the all the Heartland drama. But yeah, and so she shows it to Lindy, and Lindy is pretty impressed by it. She likes it. Very sweet. I mean, we've said it a million times, but these girls are just so cute.
They got so lucky. They're turning
Yes.
into great little actresses as well. That they
Yeah.
can give them these like, I mean, she pretty much had like the A plot this season, this episode. And the fact that they can put that on these twins is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, they've done such a great job casting.
Mm-hmm.
casting children on this show, whether it was Mallory, whether it was Georgie, and then now
Mm-hmm.
the twins. They're just, it's Ruby and Emanuela Spencer. They are just so charming, so sweet, so likable, and yeah, and good actors too. It feels like they get the emotion, not just the words.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
So she's pretty impressed. I mean, I can understand why Amy is nervous about this video being out there. But then on the other hand, in the world of social media, it's not that bad. I mean, at least it's like complimentary and people think she's really cool, as opposed to like a bullying kind of a thing,
Mm-hmm.
It could be worse. That's all I'll say. And then we have Jessica and Tim fighting, and she says, "I don't blame Flash for running away." And then she says, "The loft was supposed to be a temporary place." And then Tim says, "Not for me. I love the loft. It's home." And I feel like that it's not unreasonable to want a older married couple to find their own place. And it's
Mm-hmm.
surprising that Tim would say this because he had his own whole house and everything for so long. You think that he would not be that happy. I mean, I guess it's better than the RV, but you think he'd be itching to get out of that loft too.
Yeah. And I know that, they're just two people, but I mean, even Amy and Ty were struggling in that
Mm-hmm.
loft.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it makes sense for me that one of the storylines this season will then be, finding their own place.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope that that's the case because, yeah, it just seems a little, it's turning in, it's just a bit ridiculous that you still have everybody in the same place, in the
Yeah.
same ranch. I mean, it doesn't affect the story to have them be in different parts of Hudson,
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, the ranch will always be the base.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It doesn't matter where they're sleeping at night. You could have
yeah.
them just come in for the day or whatever it might be. I mean, it's similar to, they have this problem a lot of times on shows that are kind of based off child or teen characters, because then
Hmm.
you kind of always need to have a new child in this situation. So I mean, that's what the Cosby Show had a thing, is they all these ridiculous reasons that they'd get for Denise to still be living at home, or Sandra to come back with the kids, and there's like there was always some convoluted explanation just so that
Yeah.
there were kids at the house.
Yeah, I
And
mean, it was always the same with teen shows as well.
mhm,
You'd have Dawson's Creek, where you have these kids where you spend all of this time developing them and their interests and
mhm,
what they want to be when they grow up, yet they end up all at the same,
yeah,
college, which doesn't make sense because of the way you've spent
mhm,
seasons saying, no, this one wants to be a film director, this one wants to be, X, Y, and Z. So the fact that
yeah,
they would all end up at the one college doesn't make sense. And
mhm,
you had, shows like One Tree Hill just going, well, it doesn't make sense to have them all go to the one place, so we'll just do a 5-year jump and,
mhm.
pick up. And that was also a good way to age up all of the characters. But yeah,
Well, and they
this
finally
could be
looked their
fun.
age.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So then you have this whole conversation between Jack and Amy. They're talking about how busy they are, Lisa never being home, that Jack's so busy with the cattle. and Lisa has this horse that's just winning gangbusters, and so then he says our dreams are keeping us apart, which
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess somebody needs to work the cattle, but I would think that they could hire that part out because it's not like high training kind of thing. You could just hire some cowboys to take care of the cattle, and then they could go together
Mm-hmm.
with the horse. But I guess
Yeah.
Jack hates to travel.
Yeah, I was gonna say that would make him travel, which is, we've been through the
Hmm.
the whole issue with traveling with Jack.
Yeah, and he
Yeah, I
says,
really do feel like this is maybe just a way to write the character out for a couple of episodes.
yeah,
Um, yeah.
yeah. He says somehow we need to find a balance of what we dream of and what happens when it actually happens.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so then we have Flash coming back, which is very sweet. There, that seems like a very nice horse. It's
Yeah.
very sweet. The way he was like cuddling up to Jessica, it was very cute.
Yeah. It's interesting. I wonder how many get it's such a unique looking horse. I mean, know that with
Uh-huh.
Spartan they have like several different
Yeah.
horses. Like how hard must it be for them to have a double of this horse? Because he
Yeah.
does like huge at once sometimes, and then when he's in sort of that ring with,
Hmm.
when we're doing the sort of join up, it doesn't look as imposing. But yeah, must be interesting trying to
Yeah.
find a double for such a unique looking horse.
And I wonder if they have special sort of requirements for when a horse is supposed to be a wild horse, a colt,
Hmm.
and when it's one of the others. If there's like a real difference, or they just train the horse to have those wild kind of tendencies.
Yeah.
And probably the latter. But anyways, it was sweet. It was a very sweet moment. I was like, oh, I miss my Heartland horse moments. We have this new show on Hallmark, Ride, coming up,
Uh-huh.
that's more on the rodeo side of things, but we're going to be covering it, and our friend Terry and then Anne and me are going to be doing that one.
Hmm.
We'll start with the premiere, and then every 2 weeks like we do, so hopefully it'll be good. I hope it'll be a fun show. We'll
So much
see.
horse stuff for you.
Yeah, a lot of horse stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder how many episodes of the podcast you'll be saying like, "Well, we did this in Heartland."
Yeah, that's what I worry about. Well, so then Amy tries to call the ranch for Westfield to stay on the horse that Lindy stopped, and then she has a confrontation with Peyton's mom, and then eventually Peyton comes and brings the horse, and saying, I think it was called Moon Dance, was this
Hmm.
horse, and saying that it's having problems, it's got spooked. And it is interesting, like how psychological these horses are, like how
Hmm.
sensitive they are to things like that, to getting spooked, and we've seen those plots many times on the show.
Yeah, yeah. They get sort of like a post-traumatic sort of
Mm-hmm.
syndrome type thing. Um, yeah. I
Yeah.
do I do think that this storyline with the Westfields is very sort of throwback to, early seasons with Sydney Busby's character and Val,
Yeah.
and it feels a
Val.
little bit like that, but also like I really don't like Paula. Whereas Val was such a villain, but she was like a fun villain. Like ultimately you always knew that she cared about Jack, and she had these sort of comedic moments as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Paula just seems really cruel and horrible to her daughter thus far.
Yeah, and I feel like she doesn't treat the horses well, which
No.
isn't
Hmm.
good, especially on
Yeah.
this show.
I just feel
So
like with somebody like Kate Drummond, they must have something else in store. Um,
mhm. Yeah, well, you can see it building, because they're
hmm.
obviously, now that Amy's working with Moondance, it's gonna, then the mom's gonna have a problem with that. So
Oh yeah.
I expect a Peyton Paula showdown coming up.
Hmm.
I think we'll
Yeah.
see
Hopefully it
it.
doesn't end the same way with her going and living in RV in the middle of
RV
nowhere.
getting married.
Yeah.
But then we have Jack fixing the plumbing, and then everybody apologizes to each other. And then Amy says that she's going to pull back her work at the center, and so she can work with the horses more. And so, yeah, I think we are probably going to see a lot more of Logan at the center in
Mm-hmm.
that plot line, with less of Amy there
Yeah.
going forward, I think. And so then Lindy's really worried about school, and Amy says, why don't we make it the Miracle Girls and add an S to the end of it? So that was sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really
And then
cute.
they go out riding on Spartan. It's cute together. So yeah, and then we also do have Katie finally talking to Lou and saying, I can't keep up with my school. I'm falling behind. I'm missing time with my friends. And so she wants to stay there and not go. Like, are they going to Vancouver every weekend? It seems like, or
Yeah,
close
it
to it.
sounds like it. Yeah, it sounds like that.
Yeah. And it's, according to Rick, it's like Friday and then most of Monday as well. So it's a long weekend, every weekend.
Yeah. And it feels like this is also the second time we've seen Katie really sort of be the grown up and stand up to her mum and say, like, you know, I feel like it was the hiking thing as well. I think it was last season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that she's last season she sort of had a bit of a crush on Logan, so maybe that'll be where it goes this season. But
Mhm.
yeah, I just really hope that she has another storyline outside of, the marriage
Yeah.
and
I just
yeah,
wish
all of
that they
that.
would find a different love interest for Lou, but it
Hmm.
seems not to be. I feel
Yeah,
like
I
they
think
just handled Peter so poorly. And if they had
yeah.
just would the season where he was a stay-at-home dad, that was
Hmm.
the best.
Yeah, agreed.
Mm-hmm. That was the best. But there we go. That's everything. So what would you give this episode 1 to 10? How do you feel?
I'm going to give it a 7.5, and I feel a little bad about that, but yeah, it wasn't the strongest premiere for
Uh-huh.
me. And I just felt like a lot of things were in flux, and
Yeah.
it just kind of needed to settle a little bit more for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I
go with
agree.
7.5.
I agree. I think that's fair. I was so happy to be back that
Yeah.
that I really enjoyed it. But when you kind of dice it down, yeah, I think a 7 is probably fair. I'm like somewhere in between the hardcore people and the people disgusted. Like in between. But anyway, if you want to hear our recap of that's season 7, you can check out all of our recaps of Heartland in the playlist, because we covered every single episode of the show and the movie. Let us know what you think of this premiere. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section or on Twitter. And tell us, Michelle, where people can find you.
On Twitter at Michelle R. Renton.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us a lot. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our Patreon group, which is really fun, and our merch store. We have some Heartland inspired merch, so check that out. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.